Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a quite a unique video today, and obviously I'm shooting this from my sunroom in my house. It's a beautiful sunny day, so I'm like, let's just shoot it up here because usually I'm just here, hanging out here, either writing my book or doing consultations here. And it's got this piano. I just love it. I love playing it. I actually posted a video on my Facebook just 2 days ago, but then just took it off because I played it, but then it wasn't the greatest. I screwed up the notes, and I have to make it perfect for me to show something, so I just took it off. But today we're going to be talking about legacy and Saturn, and how this is something that I have observed on my own. This is, not something that has written somewhere. I don't know if it is, but about how Saturn kind of helps you leave a legacy when it's placed in a certain houses. Now, obviously, as you know, that main reason for legacy is Venus connected with the 8th house, the 8th lord, especially Saturn. And you saw that one of the lessons with Sunil as well, how a combination of these planets can help you leave a legacy, help you leave your name. When you are gone, people will be talking about you, will remember you after you're gone. Anytime like Venus is connected with the 8th house, the 8th lord, or conjunct or receiving an aspect from Saturn. But we're just going to talk about Saturn itself without Venus. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Saturn, as you know, is a significator of the 8th house. It rules the 8th house regardless of where it's placed, what sign, wherever its sign is placed, it will always somehow have something to do with the 8th house. These are called karakas. So 8th house is death and rebirth. Okay. And when you die, how is it that your rebirth happens? We're not talking about the next life. I'm talking about the karma that you came into this life with, the karmas that you have accumulated, that you gave out to the world. How does that come alive? Well, the rebirth happens again with the energy of Saturn, meaning that whatever you did in this life will be somewhat remembered. People will be talking about you somehow, in some way. And there are many combinations of it. I remember Sunil from Saptarishis emailed me one time. And he kind of gave me a homework to look into how Jupiter connected with I believe it was 8th house, 8th lords is giving legacy. And so far I couldn't find it, and obviously I got busy, so I couldn't really do a lot of research on it, because obviously, Sunil tells me a lot of things, when we're emailing each other, and he's actually given me a very, very powerful BSP, which I don't think I'll ever share, because it'll put a lot of fear into people, because it's one of a negative BSP. But when I'm trying it, it is just, it's working so accurately. And it has to do with Venus. However, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about Saturn and legacy today, so let's stick to that subject. Now, obviously, if you do not know where your Saturn is placed, where your other planetary placements are, so you can see how Saturn or Venus might be, giving you a legacy. For that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including all my consultations at this link. So, what I observed is that Saturn, especially in the 3rd, 6th, 8th, and 11th house, has the ability to have a person do a certain karma through which they might be remembered after they're gone. And especially remembered by the mass public. Why? Because Saturn represents mass public. Saturn represents, Saturn represents the people, the working class. people who vote for you in elections, people who pay you taxes as a government. So all the general public that is out there working is controlled by Saturn. And the reason why I noticed that, especially with major celebrities, political figures, especially if you notice, Kapiel Raaj has Saturn in the third house. And Steve Jobs, Saturn in the third house. But these positions of Saturn, the reason why it helps you leave a legacy, because from this position, Saturn will always influence the 8th house, or the energy of the 8th house will be with Saturn. How? Well, first of all, third house, okay? Saturn has aspect of 3rd, 7th, and 10th from its place, okay? So how can Saturn influence a legacy in the 3rd house? Think about it. How is Saturn able to give you legacy? And this is where you have to understand the concept of bhavad bhavam. What is the 3rd house? 3rd house is 8th from the 8th. If you count 8 houses from the 8th house of life, death, rebirth, 3rd house becomes the higher self of the 8th house. And 3rd house represents what? Your hands. Things, the work that you do. It's your ability to communicate. It's your ability to do your work according to your ego. So here's Saturn, and especially if you notice, 3rd house, 6th house, and 11th houses are actually known as uppachaya houses. They're also known as trik houses, but also they're uppachaya houses, meaning that they grow better with time. They will always grow. So from the moment that you're born with Saturn in this placement, your karma may be very, very bad. You may be taking bad actions. You might be a very bad student in studies. But every day, something is going to improve. Maybe by 0.5% or 0.2%. And as soon as you get to your mature age of 36, where Saturn matures, you start taking the right actions in your life. But especially from the 6th house, where Saturn is placed, it aspects the 8th house. In the 8th house, Saturn is in the 8th house. From the 11th house, Saturn aspects the 8th house. And this is why when Saturn is influenced or influences the 8th house, or the bhavad bhavam of the 8th house, it shows that a person's karma, because Saturn is karma, not like karma that you have brought into this life from past life. No, I'm talking about actions, the work that you will do. Saturn is work, right? Saturn is the work that you do every day. So if you love making like wooden boats, okay, and you sell them online, the work that you're doing, the carpenting, the cutting of the wood, the painting, that process is Saturn, because you're putting your work. Mars is the energy. Mars is the energy you have. How much energy do you have to make that boat for your client? But Saturn shows with the energy that you have, the battery, like this camera. Camera is working on battery. Battery is Mars. But what's doing the work with the battery? It's the camera. The machinery in the camera is getting the light through. The sensor is seeing the image and it's recording the image. So that process becomes Saturn. So with the 8th house, Saturn shows that the karma that you're here to perform in this life, some of the work that you will do in this life, will help you to rise like the phoenix, will help you, or not help you, I should say, will eventually have a cause and effect on the 8th house, where Saturn is showing that your karma will be giving a rebirth into this life. Your karma will always, once you die, they will still be alive. So once your physical self die, something else will rise again. What is that will rise in this life? The work that you have left. And this could be a positive or negative. I mean, you can blow up a building and kill 300 people, and they find out who you are. Now you're part of the history book. for that particular city, that country, that state, that on this day, this guy blew up this building, and you'll always be remembered for that. Or you can go out there and do philanthropy work, and you'll be remembered for that. And this is why these are very powerful places for Saturn to be in. Because Saturn has the ability to realize the work that it needs to be done. And the work that needs to be done will be the type of work that will have an effect on your legacy. And this is why it becomes important with Saturn. So especially Saturn in the 3rd, 6th, 8th, and 11th house. And the 11th house is the highest of the uppachaya houses. Saturn grows very powerfully in the 11th house. And from 10th aspect, it looks at the 8th house. So it shows the karma that you're doing in this life, especially with Saturn in the 11th house, will go down into the black hole and will rise again. So this is why I have noticed that these positions of Saturn have become quite common in people who kind of leave certain work behind that is either used on day-to-day basis or it's in the history books. And especially one thing I noticed in my own personal gathering of the charts, which is probably you. I might be talking about your chart right now, where I have seen that people who have had Saturn in the 3rd or 11th house have came out from quite a bit of struggle, especially with the 3rd house, and made themselves successful, especially in their 30s, in their mid-30s. Because why is Saturn, especially in the 3rd house, you know why I say that you need to do your own business, you need to make your own money? Because if you notice, Saturn in the 3rd house is causing argala to the 2nd house. Argala meaning obstruction, which is caused by planets in 2nd, 4th, and 11th from any house or any planet. And then you have the opposite of that balances that actions out. But 2nd house is your resources. 2nd house is your earnings and your support system through family, through wealth, through people who are feeding money into your 2nd house, in your bank account. So who feeds the money most of the time in your bank account? For most of the general public in this life, it's the employer, the company that you work for. And Saturn in the 3rd house, what it does, it says, no matter how much money you're getting from a resource, somebody else putting money in your bank account, at one point I'm going to throw you out on your own. And you're going to have to earn money through your own effort. Because 3rd house is what? Effort. Your hands. You're using your hands to do something. And what are you doing to do something? You're making money by, especially 3rd house is bhavad, bhavam of the 2nd house as well. And 2nd house is what? Fame. In a way, it's part of a legacy, you can say. So your earnings, which is also the 3rd house, now Saturn is there saying no. Either I have seen, especially with people with Saturn in the 3rd or 11th house, especially the 3rd house, they keep getting jobs, losing jobs, getting jobs, losing jobs, getting jobs, losing jobs, or they're unsatisfied. I've had even attorneys who were making very good money, but they just could not take the pressure or could not take the agony of dealing with the partners in the law firm, and they had to go out on their own. And this is why the people that you see who have left legacy in this life, they had to go through tremendous amount of struggles, whether through poverty, whether through early childhood abuse, or whether through their surroundings were really bad and they came out of that being something different. Because again, 3rd house is 8th from the 8th. Whatever Saturn is doing here, he will mold you into something and bring it you're like this melted gold, okay? Which is Saturn in the 3rd. And he will put you through heated process that after a while you will come out at this gold brick. In the 6th house, Saturn aspects the 8th house with its 3rd aspect, with its effort. In the 6th house shows that obviously Saturn will subdue all the bad houses. 6th house is enemies, diseases. 8th house is longevity and sudden things that are happening. 12th house is your expenditure. Expenses. 3rd house is your fruits of your labor. So Saturn in this house subdues all the negative things. So 6th house is actually a very powerful position for Saturn. And because it aspects the 8th house, shows that your effort that you will put one day will come out and will be remembered. And this is why these positions are extremely powerful for Saturn to be in. And this is just something I just wanted to share with you guys. So you can probably do research on your own and probably get back to me, let me know, see what you find. You know, I've only seen 300 horoscopes. There are 7 billion people out there. So yes, in a way I could be wrong. I could be absolutely be wrong, but at least it's a start to really notice certain patterns in people's chart. Okay. So guys, this is my analysis of Saturn and legacy. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. Again, if you want to know where your Saturn is placed, all my books, reports, consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.